A Cinderella story gone wrong, ANORA. It's a film that's already receiving tons of Oscar buzz after it won the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival. And who better to talk about it than our own film columnist, Jason Gorber. Hey, Jason.
Good morning.
You are not at a giant tree.
I am not. The Hanukkah bush is not happening this year, so that's the way we decided to not do one.
Not do one, okay.
But we are here to celebrate one of the great films of the year.
Okay. You call it one of the great films of the year,
if not the greatest film of the year.
Wow.
We're going that way. ANORA is fantastic. Yes, it won Cannes. And in a weird way, the more I talk about this, the more I talk about how great this film is. There's going to be a weird reaction for some people because they're then going to go say, I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure that a film about a sex worker who gets in a relationship with a Russian oligarch's kid and goes on a weird, wild adventure and then everything breaks apart is the kind of thing that I'm going to actually get behind. And yet, sir, this film is absolutely fantastic. And I believe strongly that if you can divorce yourself, to use a pun,
yes,
from the fact that it is so celebrated that almost everybody who has seen this film thinks it's unbelievably great. If you can remove yourself from high expectations and go in and then yourself discover how beautiful and wonderful this film is, with an incredible performance by Mikey Madison, with an exquisite take by this guy, Mark Edelstein, who's sort of a Timothy Chalamet of Russia. If you have another film from Sean Baker, who for years now has consistently done these amazing stories about people on the fringes of society and finding their deep humanity, the dark humor, but the absolute strength of will to continue. And above all, if you find love in a film whereby a bunch of henchmen, a bunch of people who are middle management are forced to actually pick up the pieces for a bunch of people oblivious to the destruction that they're making. Something that I love in cinema, when you actually have these people, this is where anxiety comes from me, not horror movies, but when I watch people who are forced to have to deal with nonsense, that they have the power to maybe fix things, but they're being sort of, fought from above from their bosses and fought from below from the people under their care. I think ANORA 100% is a film that you should fight to see.
Now, my notes tell me you equated this anxiety-inducing cinema in some ways with the atmosphere of one of the greatest HBO series ever.
The Sopranos is, for me, so exquisite and so wonderful, and The Sopranos is presented as a gangster film in the same way this would be presented as, fundamentally a love story, Cinderella story, but it's so much more. It's operatic. It has these moments of psychology and weird confrontations with culture, all of that stuff. And maybe it's just because it's set on the Jersey boardwalk, but there's something incredible Sopranosolian. Where are we going with this?
Oh, I like that.
About this film, where you have, again, things, there's elements of crime, but it's not a crime story. You have elements of people behaving badly, but not simply out of malice or evil, but because this is the circumstance where it's plays for. So at its best, if you love that part of Sopranos, not just the vicarious thrill of watching a gangster show, but something of deep psychological depth, that's something that I really loved about this. It's like a Sopranos episode that's the best of the episodes. It's like a Springsteen song that's the best of the Springsteen songs. But more importantly, it's like a Sean Baker film. And we are here to absolutely celebrate that.
And Sean Baker, known for making movies about people who are often overlooked in society. What do you think it is about his filmmaking?
I think that his earlier films didn't quite do this, but looking at Tangerine, which exploded at Sundance because it was shot on iPhone, but people sort of overlooked how excellent it is. Yeah. Florida Project, this amazing story about families, impoverished families living on the outside of Disneyland. So this sort of, you're on the edge of what is taking place. And then Red Rocket, which is a story of a male a male pornographer who goes back home and has to deal with the fact is how is he relating being back into Texas. So yes, there's all this sort of puerile elements, these sort of, for lack of a better word, libidinous elements there. But it's the how are we dealing with these actual characters in actual society, and how do they actually sort of engage with quote-unquote regular society. And he has done an amazing, amazing job doing this. ANORA may be his most accessible, even though it sort of overtly has these sort of elements. I mean, a bunch of it takes place in a strip club. But there's nothing about it that feels... Anything exploitational about it is baked into the fact that sometimes life is exploitative. Mm-hmm. Like, it's that. We're not using these characters to be vicarious through them. We're using these characters to understand more about them and in turn more about ourselves. And that's why I think it's such an exquisite film.
Exquisite film. ANORA. Jason Gorber, thank you very much for telling us all about it.
All the best. Take care.
You too. That's Jason Gorber, Metro Morning's film columnist, and of course the editor-in-chief at thatshelf.com.
That shelf.